Pawn Star's guest wanted $2,000 for her grandma's brooch. Rick Harrison pays her $15,000 instead. It was a typical day at the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. The sun blazed overhead, casting long shadows across the neon-lit strip as tourists and treasure hunters alike shuffled through the doors of the iconic store. Inside, the air buzzed with stories, some tall, some true, and many somewhere in between. Rick Harrison, the seasoned pawnbroker with decades of experience under his belt, stood behind the counter, arms crossed, eyes scanning the latest item brought in by a hopeful guest. Today's visitor was a middle-aged woman named Linda, who had driven all the way from Phoenix to bring in what she believed was just a sentimental keepsake, a brooch once owned by her late grandmother. "I know it's not much," she said nervously, placing a small velvet pouch on the glass countertop. "But I thought maybe you'd be interested." Rick picked up the pouch and carefully opened it. Nestled inside was a delicate silver brooch, intricately designed with floral engravings and a central stone that caught the light just right. At first glance, it looked like a vintage piece, but nothing extraordinary. Rick exchanged a knowing glance with Corey, his son and business partner, who had been watching quietly from the side. Linda explained that the brooch had belonged to her grandmother, who had lived through the Great Depression and World War II. It was passed down through the family as a symbol of resilience and love. She admitted she didn't know much about its history or origin, only that her grandmother had always worn it proudly. "How much are you looking for?" Rick asked, still inspecting the piece. "Honestly, I'd be happy with $2,000, she replied. "I know it's old, but I don't expect much." Rick nodded slowly, then turned to Corey. "Let's get this cleaned up and take a closer look." Corey disappeared into the back with the brooch, while Rick engaged Linda in conversation. He asked about her grandmother, where she grew up, and any family history she could recall. As she spoke, something in her tone and the pride in her voice told Rick there might be more to this story than met the eye. A few minutes later, Corey returned with a now polished brooch. Under the bright lights of the shop, the details became clearer. The craftsmanship, the metal quality, and most importantly, the markings etched along the clasp. Rick leaned in closer, squinting slightly. This isn't just any brooch," he murmured. "This is hallmarked. And that stone, it's not a regular gemstone." He turned to Corey again. "We need Augie." Augie, though now, the shop's longtime appraiser and expert in rare items, was already making his way over. Within moments, he was examining the brooch with a magnifying loupe, flipping through reference books and checking databases on his phone. After several tense minutes, Augie looked up with a grin. "Gentlemen, we've got something special here." Rick raised an eyebrow. "Go on." Augie cleared his throat. "This brooch was made by Cartier in the 1930s. That engraving, classic Art Deco style. And that center stone, it's not just a diamond, it's a European-cut diamond, which was used during that era. Very high quality." Linda's eyes widened. "Cartier? Are you serious?" Rick looked impressed but composed. That would explain the detail work. But what really makes this valuable is its condition and provenance. If it can be verified that this came from a notable period, or even a specific collection, we're talking about a very rare find. Augie nodded. "Exactly. This piece has historical significance. In an auction house, it could easily fetch 5 figures, maybe even 6. Linda sat back in her chair, stunned. "I had no idea." Rick smiled faintly. "You brought in a piece of history without even realizing it." Now came the moment every guest on Pawn Stars waits for, the offer. Rick leaned forward. "All right, let's talk numbers." Linda straightened up, bracing herself. She expected a modest increase from her original $2,000 request, maybe $4,000, tops. Rick held up one finger. $15,000. There was silence. Linda blinked. "Excuse me." Rick chuckled. "That's right. We'll give you $15,000 for the brooch." She gasped, covering her mouth with both hands. Her eyes welled up instantly. "Oh my God, 15,000. Rick nodded. "Yes, ma'am. You brought in something truly unique. I don't want to send it to auction. I want to keep it here in the shop and display it as part of our collection. It deserves to be seen." Linda struggled to find words. I don't know what to say. My grandma would be so proud." Rick smiled warmly. "Then we've done something right." As the deal was finalized and Linda signed the paperwork, she couldn't stop smiling through her tears. "I came in thinking I'd walk out with enough money to fix my car. Instead, I'm going home with a life-changing amount." Rick placed a hand on her shoulder. Sometimes the most valuable things aren't the ones you go looking for. They're the ones that find you. Later that evening, after the shop had closed and the neon signs flickered off one by one, Rick stood near the display case where the Cartier brooch now rested. He stared at it for a long time, reflecting on the day's events. Corey joined him. "That was a hell of a deal, Dad." Rick nodded. "Yeah, but it wasn't just about the money. That woman trusted us with a piece of her family's past. We gave her something more than cash. We gave her closure." Corey smiled. "And we added a real treasure to the shop." Rick chuckled. "That too." As they locked up for the night, the brooch glimmered softly under the security lights, a silent witness to the unexpected twist of fate that had unfolded within those walls. Weeks later, Linda returned to the shop, not to buy back the brooch, but to thank Rick and the team once more. She had used the money to start a scholarship fund in her grandmother's name, helping young women pursue careers in design and fashion. "You honored my grandma's memory," she told Rick. "Now I'm honoring hers." Rick simply smiled and handed her a framed photo of the brooch on display. "Your family's story is now part of ours." And in the heart of Las Vegas, amidst the chaos and commerce of the pawn shop world, a simple brooch had become a symbol of legacy, love, and the power of unexpected treasures.